Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another special edition of Rangers Ed, the off-season free agency recap episode. And remember, Rangers Ed brought to you by Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, call Lucarelli Law and tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I've had a whirlwind couple of weeks, just like the NHL. Mine was probably a little more fun. And it's going to be a crazy other couple of weeks. And I'm here joined with my co-host Little Ed and the infamous Coach Ed. What's up, Coach?
I don't know about infamous, but yeah, not many people had as exciting week as you had. But what are you going to do?
It was wild.
Let's just jump right into it. Let's hear about it. Where'd you go?
So we went to Vancouver through Toronto. So we went from Miami, Toronto, Vancouver, which was a insane travel experience. And then we were there for 3 days. We did some whale watching, did some hiking, enjoyed the city a little bit. Pretty cool. Saw some humpback whales, bald eagles, harbor seals, really cool stuff. Mikey P would really like to hear about this trip. I think he's probably seen all these animals already, but we were there for 3 days. The really cool city. It's really interesting. If you haven't been out there, the city is located within a temperate rainforest. So when you look at it from an overview, it's just trees everywhere, and then just the city is there in the rainforest, which was just.
I didn't know that.
We did like a ski lift they have there you can take, so you can go down and watch look at the whole city, get the whole overview. And then we hopped on a cruise to Alaska with 3 stops. We saw some glaciers, saw orcas. The coolest part of the trip, just to make it short, was we took a 14-person boat out into the middle of a bay right off the Pacific Ocean in Alaska. And we were just up close and intimate with these animals, man. We were surrounded by humpback whales, 50-foot long whales just coming up right next to the boat. Bald eagles diving and fishing right next to us. Orcas, 30, 40 yards just swimming upstream, and we're just watching. It's like, whoa. And it was cold too. It was cold.
I was trying to send you the Seinfeld clip when Russell's on the whale watching thing to impress Elaine.
That's right. I should have thought of that.
I was trying to send that clip, but I couldn't find it, so I know I texted it, but whatever.
It was pretty cool how they do it. So these guys, all the tours out there, they all communicate. They're all friends. So the guys on what's that radio called, Coach? The old school one the truckers use. I forgot what it's called.
CB?
Yeah, it's like that kind of a system. So they're just like, hey, 40 knots, whatever, is humpbacks, and goes, So they all just communicate. Yeah, they all just share that info. Little Ed, you're on mute, bud. You're on mute, bud. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, sorry. The Little Ed's workshop is in full motion right now. I didn't want you guys to hear the laser going off in the background, but should we just get CB radio so we communicate with Coach Ed better instead of texting all day? Like
exactly.
Rangers sign Riley Smith. Click over.
Copy.
Oh, geez.
Actually, not a terrible idea. Shout out to the old Nextel phones.
Yeah, it probably would work. Probably be better for Coach Ed, honestly. But it was cool. It was very wildlife oriented and nature oriented. I swam in 35-degree glacial water, which was the coldest thing I've ever done in my life. It was freezing. So,
wow. No wetsuit?
I just had on those 32 degrees pants, the ones that keep you hot or whatever. That's all I had on. That was it.
So you're gonna get a cold plunge tub now?
That's already on my list. I'm definitely getting that.
If you can handle it, more power to you, man. I don't know if I could do it. I can't.
I like a cold plunge. I could do
even the Coach Ed's cold pool.
I could do 3 minutes in a cold plunge. I've done it before. But that water was so cold that I went under. I stood up and I tried to get out, and I ended up falling because my body was in shock. Within seconds, I was in shock and I just fell.
That was the picture someone caught of you in it. You were on your back.
Yeah. I posted it because I thought it was funny. I'm like, oh my God. I just fell right in the water. But yeah, overall, it was probably the best trip I've ever been on. Highly recommend going to Alaska to everybody. Vancouver was cool, but Alaska is a must, man. It was just unbelievable. Bucket list for me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to go. Lindsay and I talk about it all the time.
It's totally worth it, especially if you can get a deal with like the cruise line or something. Sometimes you get like 50% off or 25% off. You get that, and you can use points for the flights. It becomes more and more affordable as you start trying to finagle it, and it's totally worth it. I gained about 7 pounds, so that's a that's a cruise week cruise right there for you.
Did you step out of your food comfort zone at all? Did you try anything interesting, unique?
Yeah, actually, I did. I tried.
You had to
King's
try the
crab.
salmon. Please tell me you tried the salmon.
I definitely had salmon, but more.
Okay.
I've
How was it?
had salmon before.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, salmon. The salmon was good. It was really good. They had like a honey glaze on it. So the way we went to this bake, and it was a pretty cool setup. So they had like a bunch of those picnic tables, and they had the woman cooking the salmon, this huge grill. They had like a marshmallow pit with a fire. They had like a little hike trail that you could walk down with a stream where salmon were jumping and bald eagles were overhead. So it was like a whole experience. It wasn't just going to eat salmon. So we show up, and the salmon was perfect. It was grilled perfectly. They called it a bake, but it looked grilled to me. And they put like a honey glaze on it, and it was delicious. It was really good. I had like 3 pieces. And yeah, they're known for blueberries there too in Alaska. So I tried some blueberry little pastry they make with the blueberries. So that was really good. And then went to I forgot what town it was, Juneau. We did the King's crab legs, Coach Ed's favorite. I say it's King's crab, right? Or is it king crab?
King, I believe.
King crab. So we go to the place to order, and I don't eat crab. Let's just start there. Shocker to everybody, but I don't eat crab. So then friends who we were with, they ordered 2 huge orders of this crab, and I got like pork sliders, right? So I sit down, I'm eating the pork sliders, I'm watching them eat the crab, and I'm like, I gotta just try it. Like, I'm in Alaska, this is what they're known for. Let me just try it, and it was really, really good. I really liked it, especially with the butter. It wasn't that fishy.
I'm sure
I don't
it's
really
incredible fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I bet
all
if you
fresh,
ship
man.
it to New York and stuff, it just gets a little aged or just enough not to taste that fresh. And yeah,
I asked them if they ship to New York because I was going to ship Coach Ed a batch of a king crab, but they said they don't do that. So I'm sure there's a way to get it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Coach.
you go out to dinner.
Go out to dinner down the nautical mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like seafood that's too fishy, so.
Oh, I agree. No, for sure.
But no, it wasn't.
Sometimes you get a bad piece. But that's great.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It was pretty awesome. The whole thing was amazing. And during this trip, of course, free agency's happening. Trades are I'm trying to get internet everywhere I am, trying to get updated. I did a pretty good job staying updated, considering mostly when I was on the cruise, I was just not paying attention to much and just kind of scrolling.
Yeah, what I say in the chat, pretty selfish move for our in-house capologist to go away during free agency or take a vacation during free agency.
Yeah, I guess I got to not book trips on July 1st in the future.
Yeah, if you want to be like Elliot Friedman, this is your hot season, whatever you want to call it. But Skill Martin on Instagram wants to know if Brandon Dubinsky was there in Alaska with you. Before we move on.
No, he was not. There wasn't really a lot of hockey stuff around in Alaska. I was a little surprised, but a ton of stuff in Vancouver. Everywhere you went, there was like little pucks and little, pencils with a hockey stick eraser everywhere in Vancouver. But Alaska, not so much. I met some locals and I was asking them, they follow hockey. Is hockey big here? And they were saying more on the mainland they play. We were on the Inside Passage, which is west of Canada, and the mainland is way up there, so we didn't even go there. But I found that interesting. They said that if they root for any team, it's Seattle, so they get blacked out though Seattle games, which is stupid. I don't get that.
That's crazy.
They lose a fan base. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the last thing I'll say is we took a seaplane, so I'm not sure fans, listeners out there, if you guys know what a seaplane is, I really didn't. And we we signed up for this thing, and I get there, and I'm like, "This is what we're doing." It's a 6-person plane.
You're too much.
It was cool. I mean, why would I know what that is?
I know, but how do you not know what a seaplane is,
Or look it up.
or crab legs?
Well, crab legs, I knew. Yeah, I didn't know how they fished them. I told
he
Coach
never-
that on the phone
he
last night. I called him.
No, he
I was
tells
like,
me
I
on the
didn't-
phone. He's never seen the show. What was the show called again?
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. He never heard of it.
Nope, never heard of it.
Never saw it once. Never watched it for 10 minutes. Never heard of it.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I understand maybe not watching it, but it's been jokes in like movies and stuff too. It's not whatever. Let's move on.
I may have come across it or something, but I just didn't really know what it was. Anyway, so the seaplane, just to wrap this up, the woman flying the plane has over 23,000 hours in it flying seaplanes in her life, which is a lot. So I felt comfortable. But we get up in the air, I'm in the co-pilot seat, and I look over and she's texting. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, can you not text while you're flying this plane over these fjords, please? And then she was like eating an apple. So it's just interesting. You know, when I drive, I don't even like to eat Burger King in my car. I feel like I'm not in control of the car. So she's up there eating while flying the seaplane. But anyway, that's I just thought that was funny. But anyway, so all right, let's talk free agency. Let's talk Rangers now. Enough of me. So, you know, we got to start, I think, with the topic, the ruthlessness of Chris Drury. I mean, this guy he's a ruthless cat. I mean, that's it. No other way to say it. We talked a little bit about how he handled Barclay Goodrow, I think, on the last episode. You know, we got to just to reiterate, Goodrow waived, claimed by San Jose. San Jose was on his no trade list. So, you know, he couldn't block waivers anymore with the no move clause expired. Drury says, okay, I'm going to block a trade to San Jose, then I'll just waive you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye cap hit. That wasn't really received well in the Rangers locker room per Molly Walker and other sources, articles I was reading. You know, there's just little hints that the Rangers locker room was kind of like, hey, you know, that's not the way to treat a guy. And then we get the Jacob Trouba situation, you know. So this all comes out little by little. Drury working on a deal with Yzerman to trade Trouba to Detroit. Trouba doesn't want to go to Detroit. He asked Trouba for the 15th list. Trouba doesn't give the list until July 1st when he was mandated to give it. Detroit probably was on the list because the trade never happened. And, yeah, now there's rumors that his agent has told teams that he won't report to any team if they trade for him. So why would those teams give up assets for Trouba if ultimately they're going to end up just terminating his contract because he won't report? Now, that's speculation. I got to say, I'm not reporting anything. I mean, this is just what I was reading as it was speculated that was happening. So let's just start here. Chris Drury, ruthless. You look at Goodrow and Trouba, two of the biggest leaders on the team. Trouba was great in the 2022 playoffs. Not so great this year. Dealing with the ankle injury. Goodrow, 4 goals in the regular season, not a great year. Yes, he had the bubble and all that, but pretty dominant playoffs, I think, from him. It's as good as it gets. 6 goals on the run and big goals. Gone, waivers. Coach, you know, Drury, is he just trying to clear cap space, you think? These are these two guys that you would identify as needing to be moved to change the culture of this team?
I kind of go the other way. I mean, I talked to Eddie about it, and I was speaking to you about it a little bit. I mean, Trouba signs a deal to be with the Rangers with a part of a rebuild and dedicates himself, becomes captain. I thought he does a great job. I think he does a great job of that in the community. He won the Messier Award. I mean, the guy's involved. It's not like he's just going through the motions. I think he plays very hard. I think he's a playoff type player. Look, they signed him for that money. That's the way it is. That they shouldn't have signed them then if they.
Well,
you know,
Drury didn't sign the contract is the argument, but I agree with you. It's like the player signed the contract. He has every right to
want to stay.
To exercise the clause or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's like it's ridiculous. Like fans, it's insane and to bring his wife into it. I mean, that really annoyed me. I mean, I heard today on the radio, I forget who was talking about it, but like players don't normally do that. It's like, you know what? Like I'm making all the money. We're going to have to just play or live wherever I'm playing. You know, like he signed that contract, the no move clause, knowing his wife wanted to be there. So he has every right to exercise it and just honor the contract. I mean, for all the things for the Rangers to keep quiet, like who started that rumor or who let that leak out, you know? That's what frustrated me about the whole situation. I mean, everyone who listens to this podcast, if you're new, like I love Trouba personally. I mean, yeah, his contract is tough for a third pairing defenseman coming up in this season, most likely, but you know, he blocks a ton of shots, he wins battles along the wall. Sure, he's good for a turnover here and there that looks atrocious, but you don't respect him for the little things he does. You know, like I just said, the blocking of the shots, the clearing of the zone, the penalty kill. Meanwhile, Fox is flubbing it here and there, trying to clear the zone, or Lindgren or whoever it is, like not giving it 110%. You know, so I mean, to get back to your question about the ruthlessness, I hate that it happened to a player like Goudreau. You know, like I feel like he was like kind of like the victim here, not the victim, but like I'm trying to think of another word. Not scapegoat, but like a martyr, I guess. But like that's setting the tone, like Vegas, you know, like players like Mika Zibanejad, even Trouba, you're not safe anymore. As soon as your no move clause expires or whatever, you might have the same fate unless the next CBA blocks it or whatever the case may be. You know, like lack of a better, it's not right for Mika or Kreider or anyone to just be like, you know what, I'm safe. I can't go anywhere no matter how shitty I play in the playoffs or whatever, you know? So like I said, I hate for it to happen like Goudreau. We love Goudreau. I mean, yes, his contract wasn't the best either, but what he brought to the table was mostly intangible. And I'm sure that's why the players are upset. But they have to feel uncomfortable as well, and they have to know that they have to give 110% the entire season and live up to their contracts. Otherwise, they're going to have the same fate.
Yeah, I think that when you look at, it's really a two-part question I asked. You guys did a good job of parsing out the two questions. But when you look at, you know, how to run a team, and we're fans of the Rangers, right? First and foremost, I want the Rangers to win the Cup. Whoever's on that team is on that team. I don't care. I just want them to win the Stanley Cup. I'd like certain guys to be on the team, but whatever, as long as they win. You know, you want a GM to be ruthless, in my opinion. You got to be. You can't just get attached to guys, and you know that's when you get into trouble by giving out contracts you shouldn't give out. And I think I understood the Goudreau move. I think, you know, cleared $3.6 million in cap space. They ended up getting a guy to replace him who's being paid $1 million, maybe for a slight downgrade, but that is what it is. You know, that's more palatable for a fourth liner. So I understand that move. The Jacob Trouba situation to me is a little interesting because I had, in my mind, I wanted the Rangers to move Trouba before next season on the last year of his deal. I just think that with the cap crunch that was coming with Lafreniere, Miller, Shesterkin, etc., they weren't going to be able to afford Trouba at $8 million, and he would have just been a cap casualty. Not because I don't think Trouba is good, but that's kind of where I pegged it. So Drury's kind of getting ahead of that this year, which means he's analyzing Trouba as a lot of fans are. I think, you know, a lot of the fan base really just is very down on Trouba. They think he, you know, pretty much, for lack of a better term, he sucks. You know, if you read Twitter and you read the internet, people think he's really bad, and I don't fully understand it. I think he does make mistakes, you know, and look, he had a really tough year. I'll say that, but this fan base turns on players too quickly in a tough year. You know, last year, everyone wanted to trade Lafreniere. Oh, Lafreniere, get him, trade him for a bag of pucks. He's a bust. He sucks. And then boom, boom, he bounces. Now he's the future superstar and captain of the team, and he's going to be a 100-point guy, right? Trouba was a stud. There was a reason that he got the nickname Trouba Train, right? He carried the Rangers defense through the 2022 playoffs to the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, he had a broken ankle in March. Yeah, he said it didn't affect him in the playoffs. But guys, I want you to break your ankle in March. Tell me how it feels in June. Okay, it's not going to be it's not going to be perfect, you know. So I give Trouba a little bit of a pass, and I do expect him to be better. I think he has to be. You know, he's the captain of the team, and he's got to set the tone with a physical presence, block shots, and clear the zone. He's got to get the puck out. No more of this turnover crap. It's going to happen from time to time, but it was a little too much last year. And maybe this ruthlessness by Drury, I don't think Trouba is the type that's going to sulk about this. He's going to say, "Oh,
That's what I was gonna say.
you don't think I'm good? Okay, I'll show you." You know, that's the kind of guy Trouba is, and I think that's what I expect to happen. So maybe that was Drury's plan. You know, maybe he really didn't want to trade Trouba. Maybe he just wanted to kick him in the rear end a little bit. You know, I don't know. Who knows?
I think Drury was just as pissed as we are after the playoff run, you know, and he's just firing on all cylinders.
Are we going to sit here and blame the Rangers losing to Florida on Jacob Trouba? Is that what's going on?
It's what a lot of the fan base believes.
One of the reasons
he's got to go, and they would have won.
Yeah, it's wild.
This is great.
Most it's like Jacob Trouba, Zach Jones should be in for Trouba. That's mostly what it is.
Give me a break. You think Zach Jones is going to perform better than Trouba against the Florida Panthers? Zach Jones would have got his ass kicked the whole 5-6 games. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Literally.
In my opinion, you keep saying he's a third pair. I was thinking of this today driving around. How about Trouba taking on a Buka Boom role and playing with Fox if Lindgren goes?
The fan base will explode.
I don't really care what the fan base thinks, but think about it. Trouba's a decent offensive-minded player. He's physical. We need somebody to open up space for Fox. I would be interested to see how he would do with it.
I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it.
We'll get to Lindgren in a few, and I think you're onto something there. I mean, it depends what kind of partner you think is bad for Fox, but yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, look.
Otherwise, wait, excuse me 1 second. Otherwise, people are going to start saying he's a third pair defenseman making, what does he make? $8 million? I don't even know.
Yeah, $8 million.
Well,
that's going to be the argument. So give him the first pair of minutes then. Let him try. And then you could say, look, you're not doing it. Then you change. I don't know. I think like you said, he'll step up and he'll excel. I don't think he's going to go hide in the cave.
Yeah, I think with Trouba, I do see the point that a lot of fans make. I don't necessarily disagree with them that he was bad last year. I do think after that ankle injury, he was really bad. He got demoted to the third pair. He was hesitating. He wasn't connecting on any hits. There was a certain, one play against Florida, I remember. He stepped up to throw a hit, didn't connect on the hit. Then the guy beat him because he hesitated in between. Fans are like, oh, this is what I mean. He sucks. He can't. No. That's clearly playing through an injury in my mind. That's somebody who's hesitating because they're playing through an injury. So, I mean, I'm not down on Trouba at all. I really like Trouba. And I think another point that fans don't understand, or maybe they understand it, but they're not considering strongly enough, is that what Trouba brings, like Little Ed said, but to a further extent, what he brings just elements-wise is unique on this roster. There's not another defenseman that we have that brings what Jacob Trouba brings. And there's, one or two forwards, maybe if you count Rempe, right? The physical presence of Trouba. If you lose that, how are you replacing that? Right? I mean,
you ask any NHL player, especially any Ranger in the locker room, they're going to tell you, any NHL analyst that has played the game or coached the game or managed the game, they're going to tell you the same thing. To win the Stanley Cup, you need a defenseman like that, whether he's on the first pair, the third pair, or the second pair.
Yeah,
not only do you need him, you probably need three of him.
Yeah, they need to add more of it.
You need Schneider and Miller. Well, Schneider, we don't really have to worry about stepping up physically, I don't think. But you need Miller to step up physically. Then you have him, Trouba, and Miller all playing big. And then you got Lindgren playing tough, but he's a small body. Now we're talking. But, now we're blaming Trouba. Like Coach has said, we're blaming Trouba for, say, Miller not stepping into that role early enough. Or Schneider, I guess, not getting enough minutes. We'll see how he does on the second pair this season coming up. Hopefully, but I have no doubt that he'll get into a flow. Hopefully, playing with Miller for most of the season, finally being comfortable. I guess we can kind of segue into talking about Miller, Schneider if you want, but finally being comfortable with the second pair or with a consistent pair.
Yeah, I think Schneider and Miller will be a good pair. Honestly, I like Miller a lot more than you guys do, but I think he played his best hockey this year when he was with Schneider. I think there's no question about that. They have some kind of a rapport. They're both really good skaters. They both move the puck well, right? So, you got the physicality of Schneider, the long reach of Miller, and two good skaters. That pair should be able to clear the zone pretty easy.
Now,
So,
I
yeah.
sent you guys a video that I saw yesterday. I told Cuz on the phone. I want to see Miller with a video like that, not his girlfriend on Instagram. I'm not kidding. Schneider's
so for
working
the-
on that stuff. What do I do when I rush the
Coach,
puck? Where do I go? What do I
fans-
do?
The listeners to this podcast don't know what you're talking about, so let me intro it before you talk about it. So Coach sent a video, as a YouTube clip of Schneider, and he hired a company, a private company, to review tape of him play throughout the year, and to give him little tips on certain plays that he made where the odds would be better if he made a different play, things like that. If you pass it up here, the better odds of it clearing the zone, etc. And the video is like 3 minutes long, and it just shows Schneider putting in the work on off days with on his own time. Pretty much, he hired that company. They don't work with the Rangers, so
They watch the video, then they analyze the video, they talk about it, and they, I thought that was something like what's his name does.
Coach, you know what that is? Analytics. That's what it is.
Look, I said there's a use of analytics, but sometimes there's variables involved. After the Mike Kelly interview, I came around a little bit, but
I was going to say,
you can't
go
go
back and listen to that
100%
interview.
at it. It's got to be a variable. Of course, analytics, there's percentages. I coach with, we always talk about percentages. This is a better percentage play. Goaltending is based on percentages a lot, taking the bottom part of the net, and so on. That's what it's about. I get it, but there's also during game adjustments you have to make on the fly. There's common sense things.
Yeah.
So my point is Miller putting this in? I have never seen a clip you guys sent of him doing anything like that. I just see his dressing. He's the number one dresser. He's his girlfriend on Instagram. Get in the game and know what to do with the puck after you make a play.
He posted when he beat up John Marino.
He's also got an 8-pack.
Hey, I love that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
He's also got what?
He's got like an 8-pack. He posted that as well when he was drafted.
All right, but you gotta use it. You gotta freaking be.
You gotta use it.
So,
use that 8-pack, Keandre.
Use that core.
I'd rather have a guy like Phil Kessel with the 2-case pack, and he's putting up 500 goals.
Kessel's got a 24-pack.
24-pack, yeah,
So Schneider, though, Coach, he's a restricted free agent right now. I know you've been saying sign him long term. So, the Rangers are just trapped in this cycle of bridge deals because they're always tight against the cap. So, you got a guy like Schneider who you could probably lock up to a 6-7 year contract around like $5.5 million if you had the cap space to do that. They don't. So he's looking at a bridge deal, 2 to 3 years. $2.5 million per Vince Mercogliano. I read that today, and it's close to being done. So that's what I expected for Schneider going into the offseason.
I get it. I understand what you're saying. I know it's a numbers game. I just love the kid, and I've never seen a bad thing about his attitude or anything.
Well,
those are the kind of guys.
Yeah, I would love to sign him long term, because what happens is when you sign these long term deals, you give the player security, right? Let's say it's 6 years.
We lost him for a minute. Well, I lost him. Is he still talking?
Nah, we lost him.
Yeah, I mean, I get the bridge deal. I get what it's about. I know it's a product of what they're in with the cap, but hopefully they get to hold on to him. We'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he was going to go to me next, but I would have loved to sign him long term. I know we were saying that, but at the same time, I think I mentioned it on the last one or maybe the playoff recap. He didn't have the best playoff either, or at least the series against the Panthers, in my opinion. But like I said a few minutes ago, I think with a more consistent partner throughout the year and just getting more consistent and confident, and maybe after signing this little bit of a 2 or 3 year deal, I mean, gives him a little bit of more comfort level as, I'm making a little bit more money. I'm here for 3 years. They believe in me type thing. Now it's my opportunity to prove it. So,
I mean, I agree with you. He probably didn't have his best playoffs, but he's still, like everybody keeps saying about Keandre, he's still 22? And a
DeAndre
guy of
or-
his
or-
stature,
or-
Schneider, a guy of his stature, defense in playoffs relies a lot on what the forwards are doing. And the Rangers
Schneider's
forwards were
22.
not. Yeah, Rangers forwards to me weren't playing playoff type hockey. We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what
defense- the
happens.
defense-
That's what happens. Go ahead.
The defense was on their heels way too much. Puck possession was obviously in Panthers' favor. They gave that stat all the time, whatever. And that's putting the D on their heels, and you're going to make mistakes. So you talk about
right.
Trouba not playing well. When the puck's in your zone, 30 of the 40 seconds of your shift, there's a good chance you're going to not make the right pass. There's a good chance you're going to flub the puck because the guy's hitting you from the back and the side. There's all these variables involved as a team. So, I have I get frustrated with that. I think
Yeah,
the
no,
fans
I
need to
mean,
look at that a lot closer.
We say it all the time. Hockey's a simple game if you break it down that way, and as simple as that is if you spend more time in the offensive zone, you don't have to spend as much time in the defensive zone. And that's how you win hockey games, right? And that's how Florida beat the Rangers. They spend more time in their end, in the Rangers' end, than the Rangers did in the Florida end, and that came with that unrelentless forecheck.
Yeah.
And that's just what it broke down to. The defense looked really bad because the offense didn't perform, like Coach just said. So before we move on, Chris said, here's the problem with a longer deal and higher cap. People are going to complain next season he's not worth $5 million. I mean, kind of what we just said. It's his turn to prove it, or it's his chance to prove it. He's going to be bumped up to that second pair with Miller, hopefully consistently, like we just talked about. And it's his opportunity to step up into that physical role and shove down other teams' top lines, not just be a third pairing defenseman anymore.
Yeah, I mean, my internet's bugging out, guys. I'm sorry about that. But what I was trying to say is, Chris makes a good point. What I was trying to say is the reason you want to sign a guy long term like that is in 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that deal, because the cap's going up, is a steal. That's how you get contracts that are steals and you could spend elsewhere, right? You get a guy like Schneider at $5 million, you're making a bet that he's going to be a $7-8 million player in the future, and you're not going to have to pay him that. Like, picture last year, if the last contract, if the Rangers signed Lafreniere, coming off all those bad years to an 8-year deal or a 6-year deal for like $4 million, right? They would have him locked in at that cap hit for the entirety of that contract, and then he just busted out, right? Instead, they gave him a bridge deal. Now he's going to get $8-9 million on his next contract. So you're kind of trapping yourselves into this cycle of bridge deals. But bridge deals also have a benefit because sometimes guys don't perform, right? Sometimes the Lafrenieres don't happen, and now you're paying this guy $4 million who sucks or isn't worth it. So it's a risk, but they're going to get Schneider locked in at that price.
Can I just say one more thing about the whole Trouba situation? Why do people not complain that Patrick Kane gets to go pick where he wants to play? This is their option. Why do people, when the Rangers got Lindros, I'm sure they didn't say, oh, I don't want this guy. He chose not to go to Quebec. He's not, he goes where he wants. This is their choice as a player. That's what the free agency is about. You sign a contract, you want to play. And, again, the Rangers shouldn't have signed them for that much money if they didn't want to stick with them.
Well, Coach, it's not that simple.
What I'm saying is he shouldn't be forced by the fans to say, why isn't he leaving?
Well, here's why. Let me give you the flaw in what you're saying. Trouba's contract called for a no movement clause for 5 years of that deal. The Rangers did not move him through those 5 years. He now has a 15-team no trade clause, and then I think this year and next, maybe next year drops to 12 teams. I'm not sure, but he's got 15 teams, right? So that means that per his contract, there are 16 teams out there in the NHL that he can be traded to without his consent. That's his contract. So he has to accept a trade. He cannot reject a trade to 16 of those teams. Now, if one of those teams is willing to deal with the Rangers for Trouba, there's nothing he can do about it. That's his contract.
Other
than not showing up. So what bothers fans is that he's saying or speculating. This is speculation. This hasn't been fully, I don't know if this is accurate. But what bothers fans is the rumors that his agent is telling teams that he's just not going to show up. effectively turning his no trade clause into a no move clause, because no team out there is going to trade for a player, give up assets for a guy who's not going to even show up. Their only remedy at that point is to terminate his contract. So you just give the Rangers assets and then terminate Trouba's contract. You're just doing the Rangers a favor then, right? Because they're just trying to clear his cap. So that's what bothers fans, right? Now, on the other side, I don't blame Jacob Trouba for doing that, honestly. I mean, he's doing what he thinks is best for his family. And like Little Ed said, the way the fans are dragging his wife, we didn't really talk about that enough, I think. It's just embarrassing as a fan base. You should not be doing that. I mean, it's his family, so he's doing what he thinks is best. Just like Drury is cutthroat, Trouba's agent is known to be a cutthroat guy. I mean, that's his reputation in the league.
It's a two-way street.
And he's doing what he thinks is best for his client. And as a lawyer, I would do the same thing if my client wanted that. That's what I would do. That's why you pay lawyers. That's why you have agents, to help you in situations when you have a problem. So I don't blame Trouba at all for doing that. Not even a little bit. I think that it's a cutthroat move, but it's pretty cutthroat of Drury to, ask for his 15-team list before free agency and try and ship him out when he's, he just won the Messier Leadership Award. He was named captain, 2 years ago? So that's pretty cutthroat in and of itself. I think the whole situation is cutthroat. And I wanted to follow that up. I'm glad you brought this back, because I didn't get to ask this before we moved on to Schneider. But how do you think that affects the locker room if Trouba does stay? I mean, do you think that affects the locker room at all? I mean, Trouba's the captain. Everyone on the team knows the Rangers tried to get rid of him. Little Ed, you're on mute, but I'm curious what you guys think in the locker room is going to happen.
If he stays or goes?
If he stays.
I mean, I think it's something similar to like we were just talking about, like him just putting in the work and just getting better. I think the teammates don't want their captain gone. I don't think anyone in that locker room is blaming Trouba for their loss. I mean, everything that we just covered, I mean, I'm sure the players are thinking similarly. I mean, if they're good teammates, which I believe they are, I mean, Kreider seems to be a pretty damn good teammate. Zibanejad, Fox. I mean, you look at Fox, he had Rangers invited to his wedding that were on the team for like a season. So that just shows that, I mean, it's something small like that. It just shows how tight-knit of a group this actually is, so I don't think they're going to be not rallying behind their captain.
Well, that's the thing, right?
That a little poorly, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I guess, coach, I mean, Little Ed saying he doesn't think it'll affect it, but I mean, this is the captain of the team. And is he really the captain of the team if everyone knows?
No, I think it'll affect it in a positive way.
The GM was trying to trade him. Like, how can he be the captain? Everyone knows in that locker room that Drury doesn't want Trouba on the team, right?
Did it ever come out that he actually tried? Or is this just all hearsay or rumors?
That he actually tried to trade him?
Did Drury actually say, I tried?
No, Drury won't do that. He will never admit that.
Well, then maybe, like you said, he was just trying to light a little bit of a fire.
But there were particulars of the deal that were rumored with Detroit.
Well, it's all rumored.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess.
I hate to there is a small possibility of that. I mean, Kevin Shield is saying that if Larry Brooks didn't write the thing about Trouba's wife, we wouldn't even know about it. So, like, that kind of thing frustrates me. Unless I'm hearing Drury in a press conference say, listen, Detroit didn't entertain the deal, blah, blah, blah. I love Trouba as a player. We're going to stick with him. Then I don't really believe anything Larry Brooks says. I mean, I'd love to have him on the show. Don't get me wrong. He's always welcome to defend himself, but Coach Ed and I are not fans of him. And he's always, to me, clickbait. And the Trouba wife situation leaves a really even worse taste in my mouth about him than before.
I kind of think
talk about his wife. It's just ridiculous.
I kind of agree with Eddie. I think personal matters should stay personal. And I think Larry Brooks, I understand it's their job to come up with stories, but that's a low blow. That's a low blow. That's a confidential situation. If Larry Brooks does know that for a fact, it's not something that he needs to let out. Because now Trouba is not even going to. He's not even going to talk to him.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I don't know. I think.
Let alone if he does get traded, he might go punch him in the face. Who knows?
as a journalist, I understand you're trying to report a story, but yeah,
Yeah, but
I
there's
agree.
a fine line.
That's
There's a
not what.
fine
What is that?
line.
What is that doing for Larry Brooks? Is that pumping him up to the next level as a journalist? I don't think so.
And what is that doing for the
He's
team?
already in the Hall
You're
of
a
Fame.
How about break an actual trade instead of just rumor them all the time, Larry? How
Well,
about
he
that?
broke the Gaudreau
Get one
situation.
right. Get
He
one
broke
right.
he broke the Gaudreau situation. I'll give him
Yeah,
that.
but
2 days before.
but
But that yeah, I mean, like whatever.
But what he's doing, in my opinion, if you're a true Ranger fan as a sports writer, I know you have a job, but you're breaking the team up. You're putting a wedge in a lot of situations.
Isn't he a
So
Devils fan?
you're not helping them get to the cup. You're putting a wedge in things.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's going to be a few guys like,
I'm not telling him
there's
anything.
It's always in the back of their mind. Like, I got to watch what I say.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's that, but you also have a few guys. I wonder if there'll be a few guys when Trouba gives a rah-rah speech or gets pissed off during the season, if they're just like, really? Like, I'm gonna listen to you. You shouldn't even be on this team. I don't know. I'm not saying that'll happen, but I hope not. I just hope Trouba comes into camp ready to go, healthy, ready, motivated to have a good season, and starts off the year well. And then I think it's fine. I think everything from there will just be smooth, right? But if he comes in, struggles off the bat, it's going to get a little,
It's going to be tough. It's a lot of pressure. But like Messier said, there are players that can handle that pressure and players that can. We'll see the true character of them. And I'm sure the other players, this team was a tight-knit group for 2 to 3 years, most of them. I'm sure they're texting Trouba saying, Jake, we got you back. We're going to make this happen. I cannot believe that they are going to be mad at him for doing what he did, because they all know it's a business.
No, they won't.
Why
be
do they
mad
have
for it, Coach?
Why do they have no trade clauses? Why does Panarin have a no trade clause?
No, you're misunderstanding. I'm not saying they're going to be mad at Trouba. I'm saying, are they going to respect him as a captain when they know that the GM was trying to get rid of him? That's different than liking him as a person.
I think they will. They know his character. I would say I don't think that's going to be an issue, in my opinion.
Good. I hope not. I tend to agree, but I think it's worth discussing. All right, let's move on though, because the Rangers did make a move to the forward group that you guys said was the reason the D sucked, which I don't fully agree with, but I do kind of agree. But they did make a move there. Riley Smith from Pittsburgh for a 2027 round pick and a 2025 fifth. 2027 second round pick. That was like a 4-year-old. And the Rangers don't have, I believe, a second or a third round pick now in the next 4 years. I want to say 3 years. No, sorry. They don't have a second or a fourth round pick for the next 3 seasons with this deal. But Riley Smith comes in. Pittsburgh retains on his deal, so he's only a 3.75 hit. Pretty much replaces Gaudreau's cap. Is that who's going to play with Kreider and Zibanejad? I mean, it's too early to tell, right? I think the coach will assess in training camp, but I mean, is that where you're penciling in right now, Little Ed?
I think so. I mean, no secret that they're looking for that right wing, and I think Riley Smith brings that skill and that little bit of grit. I don't think he's afraid to go into the corners. He comes from Stanley Cup winning Vegas team. I mean, not directly from them, but you know what I mean. He has that pedigree, and that's the style of play that they played that year to win the cup. And I'm excited for him. I always liked him as a player. I mean, I remember watching that Stanley Cup run by Vegas, and he was a presence. He was an assistant captain on that team, and that carries a lot of weight. I mean, players are, fans are underestimating this signing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the 1-year commitment. Like I said, there's a cap crunch next year, so it's a 1-year commitment. It's much better.
Plus,
than
the Penguins retain as well, right?
Yep, exactly. They retain, so only 3.75. I mean, he's pretty much a proven 20-goal guy. You look at his career. Last year he had 13 goals, but probably averages out to about 20 goals, 40, 50 points. And like you said, this is a guy who goes to the net. He forechecks hard. He's a gamer type player. He's not a superstar. That's what they need. They need a guy like that who can perform when the checking gets tighter in the playoffs. If he has 45, 50 points during the season, 15, 20 goals, I'm fine with that, and then let's see what he does in the playoffs, because the Kreider Zibanejad, well, look, they need more from their big guys, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Panarin, to win the Stanley Cup, right? But Riley Smith is not coming in to be the savior for the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers are not winning the Stanley Cup if those three guys, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Panarin, don't carry them there. They need to lead the team there. Now, they all had moments in the postseason. I thought Kreider with the hat trick against Carolina. Panarin had 4-game winners, an OT game winner. Zibanejad had like 15 points in the first 10 games or whatever it was. But they all wilted against Florida, right? And they lost. So
as it funneled to the tighter games, that's when they,
yeah. So
did you watch the Messier interview?
Did I?
No, Coach.
I watched the clip you sent. I didn't watch the whole thing.
He said that same exact thing in the interview about the funneling to the top. Was that in the clip I sent?
No.
Oh, wow.
But he did say what I said to Cuz before, that there are some players that just don't have the DNA to play under pressure in the playoffs. They could play all season, and that's what we talked about last week with Panarin and a couple other guys in the NHL.
Well, real quick, I mean, I know it was 2 years ago, right? 2022, 23, the playoffs. He had 22 games played, 14 points, 4 goals, 10 assists. Who's going to shake their head at that? Yeah, Riley.
Yeah, no, he's a playoff player for sure.
Well, I think it's what Cuz is saying, and I agree with. We need a guy that's not necessarily going to win the cup for them, but he's going to bolster Kreider and Zibanejad,
right,
and make them better players in the playoffs. Again, create the time and space, make plays, forecheck.
We've talked about this in the past. I mean, I don't think it's his job to bolster them. I think he should be complimenting them.
No, you know what I mean? My mistake. It's the wrong word. I mean, make them play better, give them more room, and so on.
Give them more room, I think, is the best thing. Whereas Kreider, yes, he'll dig in the corners when it's necessary, but he's not the most consistent. He's not going to do it for a full 82 anymore. So I mean, a player like him on your right wing, I think, is carrying a lot of weight, like I said before.
The other option is, and it's again way too early for this, but something to think about is, should they break up Kreider and Zibanejad? Right? I mean, that line has struggled 5-on-5. They can play together on special teams. They're really good shorthanded. They're really good on the power play together, but 5-on-5 they struggle. So I don't know. At some point, that's going to become a topic. Something to think about. But as far as these guys performing, let's just transition into that, because everyone's talking about it still, that these players, Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, Fox, whatever, they all need to perform in the playoffs when it counts. And Coach, you're talking about the DNA. I think there's some truth to that, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that a player is just not going to get over the hump and do it, right? I mean, you look at the NHL, you look at history, and it's littered with examples of players who struggle in the playoffs and then get it done. And it happens, right? Look at Zach Hyman, for example. In 5 playoffs with Toronto, he had 1 goal in each of those playoffs. Obviously, all losses in the first round. 5 goals total in 5 series. And then he had 11. And then this year he had 16. He led the playoffs in 25 games. That's a guy who, when Edmonton signed him, if the Rangers signed him, this fan base would say, oh, great, another guy who doesn't perform in the playoffs. And then, bam, all of a sudden he does. Something clicked. Yes, he played with Connor McDavid, but something clicked with that guy, and he came through in the playoffs, right? So it's up to those players to do it. I mean, Mika Zibanejad, he's got to do it. If he doesn't do it, the Rangers aren't going to win. That should be the entire topic for
let me just talk about what Messier said. All right, you saw the Stanley Cup in '94, but you weren't as keen on the situation. Messier pretty much handpicked that team and told Neil Smith, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. They got rid of Mike Gartner, a perennial 40-goal scorer, because Messier said he did not have it. That's not what we need. So Messier knows what he's talking about when it comes to that stuff. Am I saying it could never happen with Panarin and Zibanejad? I'm not saying that. But It may not happen.
I think the
And
difference
then they're
is,
going to say they did not have what it takes.
oh, for sure. For sure. But I think the difference is that in that situation, you're saying Messi is in that room. So he's seeing Gartner every day, assessing him, playing with him. He can sense that he doesn't have it.
Well,
Who
not
are
only
we
did he
to
play
know
with him,
whether these guys have it. We don't see them
played-
every day. We don't know how
he
they
played in
practice
the
or-
league with him for X amount of years, so they know each other. They're Canadian players. They probably played throughout juniors and the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you have to. I'm saying he knows his habits. He knows his mindset way better than we would know Mika's or Panarin's or
100%.
Kreider's. Yeah. So it's hard for us to assess that. I'm just saying, look, we can look at this two ways. We can say these guys are never going to get it done. But if that's the case, fans, I got to tell you, don't even watch the games for a couple of years because these guys are on the team. They can't be moved. It is what it is. Sorry to tell you. And if you don't think they're going to get it over the hump and they're going to figure it out, then just don't even bother to watch. If you think they could figure it out, then enjoy the season and let's see what they do. Let's see what kind of men they are. That's really what it comes down to. And it's got to come from within them. Riley Smith is not going to save the Rangers. If you're expecting that to happen or you're sad that they didn't go get Gensel, the Rangers don't have any more space to go get a superstar to get them over the hump. These are their superstars.
We don't need the superstars. I said this when you guys said we got to get Kane. We don't need that. We need the third, fourth line.
There's a reason why. I mean,
the other team.
Yeah.
Kane was different, though. Kane's different.
No, I understand, but I'm saying we need guys that are going to wear down the other team in 6-7 games. That's what we need. We need the defensemen to be constantly looking over their shoulder like ours were. It's common sense. I didn't invent this. It's been going on since I've been watching hockey.
Well, you got roster space available for another year. Will Cooley, maybe a Brett Berard, maybe a Brennan Othman, Adam Edstrom, Matt Rempe. These are the guys that are going to do it.
No matter how fast the game gets, no matter how skilled the game gets, when it comes down to the playoffs, that's how the game is always going to be played.
Yeah. You look at the Edmonton Oilers, the Islanders, the dynasties. They all had those guys that just beat the hell out of you.
I know you.
Not fighting. I'm talking about beating you in the corners.
You bring up
bruised.
Let's even bring up the most recent years. You look at Florida this year, Vegas last year. It's like you go down the list. Even the St. Louis Blues. You go down the list. They all had big, tough defensemen and then big, tough forwards, or at least forwards that were going into those corners hard and banging you no matter how big or small they were.
I don't think Florida had really big, tough defensemen. You think they did? I mean, Ekblad.
Well, Nikola played
that way.
He played
that way.
Forsling's not big and tough. He's skilled.
They played that way.
Yeah.
They all played that way. Like I was saying about Lindgren, even though he doesn't have the body, he plays that way. Now we need the guys with the body to also play that way.
Yeah.
I
think
Fox is even starting to play that way. Fox is gritting his teeth a little bit more and more. If Fox didn't have that injury, it would have been a completely different series as well. I hate that we bring up the injuries a lot, but it's just what happened. It's just the fact of the matter. If Fox didn't play that way, he's gritting his teeth a little bit harder in the playoffs because we saw that during the regular season with him. He's maturing before our eyes. He's getting grittier and grittier. I mean, it scares you a little bit because you don't want him to get hurt, but it also makes you look. It's like he's buying in. He wants to win.
But you guys say I'm wrong, but I remember him being banged up the last time they had the run. And if you don't have a guy like the Buka Boom type player, like say Trouba, that when he's out there with Fox, Lindgren plays physical, like you said, but is he capable of like just nailing a guy for hitting Fox? No. If Trouba's out there, some guys might take less of liberties against Fox. That's my theory.
Coach, in 2022, during that Eastern Conference Finals run, Fox in 20 games had 5 goals and 18 assists, 23 points in 20 games. In this playoff run,
him being battered
16 games. In this run, 16 games, 0 goals, 8 assists.
I agree with you. I think he got hurt similarly to how he got hurt this year.
He was banged up a little. We kind of were talking about maybe he's a little tired. They
maybe
played him too much down the stretch run.
Towards the end. Yeah, it always happens towards the end.
I don't remember, but maybe in round 3 or something it happened. But
What I'm saying is maybe the guys aren't taking runs at him if Trouba's out there.
So let's
Because
talk about that,
Trouba-
Coach. Ryan Lindgren, restricted free agent. He filed for arbitration. By the way, that opens another buyout window for the Rangers if he does go to arbitration for Trouba. We'll see if that happens. But Lindgren, this is the one place on the roster that I really want the Rangers to improve. And I love Ryan Lindgren. I really do. I think he's a great player. I think he's got good character. He's fun to root for. And the teammates love him. The fans love him. But if you can get a 1B or a 2A guy to play with Fox, someone who can move the puck like him, who's a little bigger than him, or like you're saying, maybe a Trouba situation. That's an interesting thing I didn't think about. A Buka Boom Leach, something like that. You got to improve upon that spot with Lindgren, in my opinion. I don't know if they can. I don't think he's going to be gone. I think he's going to be here on a 1-year deal and walk to unrestricted free agency. But it's really 3 options with Lindgren. You trade him now. You give him a 1-year deal. He walks to unrestricted free agency next year, reassess, or you lock him into a 4 to 6 year contract right now. Those are really the 3 options with Lindgren. So,
I mean, the issue with Fox is we say it all the time, without Lindgren, he's a little lost. It's weird, but I don't know. He's going to have to get over that. You can't throw a lot of money at Lindgren. I love Lindgren too, but you can't give him $5-6 million a year. I don't think.
All the stats say differently, though, that Fox plays better without Lindgren, which I don't necessarily understand, but.
Yeah. Well, the stats are a little skewed. So I've seen fans post this about Fox and Miller's numbers together are insane, right? They're insane when they play together. And that might be a good pair, but the reality is that when Fox and Miller are both on the ice, it's usually in games where the Rangers are down a goal and there's 5 minutes to go and they're just throwing everything at the net and they're pressuring the opponent. So those numbers are completely skewed because they're playing an offensive game and they have the momentum and trying to get a tie the game. So of course their puck possession statistics and their shots on goal statistics and shot attempt statistics are going to be insane compared to Lindgren and Fox, who kill penalties together, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just not really a fair comparison to me. But I agree, this whole Fox can't play without Lindgren thing. Like, bro, you're 26 years old, you're in the NHL, you make $9.5 million. You move on if Lindgren gets moved. Like, give me a break. That can't be.
Well, I'm not saying Fox said it. We're just we talk about, we say that it looks like he's a little lost out there. I mean, you're always going to be a little lost because you're used to your partner responding a certain way and knowing what you're going to do. So
you adjust.
No, you should. Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's ever without him for that extent of time. So
I mean, are there just too many bromances on this team? No, we like it, we talk about it and stuff, but is that really? It's a little cliquey, It's like a little. This guy,
hockey teams are that way. I mean, I had my defensive pair that I enjoyed playing with. I mean, different situation. My defensive pair wasn't about to get traded or not signed for another contract, in college. So it's obviously different, but that line mates are cliquey. I mean, Panarin, I'm sure, and Trocheck, Kreider, and Zibanejad, obviously. The younger guys probably hang out a little bit more than the older guys. Miller and Lafreniere, it's just like.
Yeah, I kind of think you need that. You don't want them to be cliquey where they don't socialize with each other at all. But when we had the Nationals, they wanted to pick their roommates and stuff. And I jumped in and said, no, roommates are going to be by line.
Yeah.
You need to talk. You need to discuss things on off time. You need to be together and know each other more. So I don't think it should be to a negative of the team, but I don't really have a problem with it. I have a problem with Fox now getting married. Now, if his wife gets pregnant, he has a baby, what's going to happen?
I was thinking that today, man.
Now we're going to have a whole nother year. We got to worry about Fox. Oh, he's got a baby,
Fox has the family on Long Island, so I trust that nice Jericho family from Long Island will help take care of the baby.
But he's also is dancing pretty good with that knee, so that was a good sign.
It's a good sign, I guess.
But yeah, so back to Lindgren. What do you do here? I mean, Little Ed, let's start with you. I mean, do you agree with me that this is an area the Rangers need to improve upon, or are you keeping Lindgren with Fox? Are you keeping Lindgren on the third pair? Are you trading Lindgren? I mean, where are you at with Lindgren?
I love Lindgren. I don't get me wrong. But I'm in the camp with Coach Ed. I mean, I like what he brings up about having someone to protect Fox a little bit more, a bigger body, a more physical, mean player. If Miller can be that player, great. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the arbitration thing is interesting because a
Zadorov
non-biased
would have been a good pickup. Zadorov with Fox would have been nice.
Yeah,
But he
for
went to
sure.
Boston. Didn't
He
have the
signed a
cap
big
space.
deal though, no? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, listen, a lot of money was tossed around during free agency. Every team has a different cap situation, so it's tough. But it's hard. Do you want to sign Lindgren and then maybe try and replace him and then put him on the third line with Trouba? I don't think so. So it's interesting. I mean, like with the arbitration, I guess. Let me ask you this: with the arbitration, so the team goes in with the number they want to sign the player for, right? And then the player goes in with the number they want to sign for, and then the arbiter decides on a quote unquote fair number.
Yes.
So whatever the arbiter decides on, that's the final number, and then the Rangers decide if they want to sign for it or let him walk.
Well, it depends. It depends. If it's binding arbitration, then whatever the arbiter decides is the decision. If it's non-binding arbitration, then the team has the option to walk away.
What determines that?
I'd have to look at what he qualifies for. I don't know offhand. I mean, it's just a Google search. I'm sure I could find it. But yeah, that's generally how it works, I think, in the NHL, that the team can walk away from the arbiter's award. But yeah, so I read that Lindgren is asking for a slight raise on his $3 million. His qualifying offer was 3.6. I can't see him getting less than that, because that if he could just sign his qualifying offer, then, which is 1 year, 3.6, right? So I would guess it's somewhere between 3.6 and 4 that he's asking for over 4 to 6 years, which is not a crazy number for what he brings, but it's, where's he going to play?
My only issue with him is what I've been saying for a couple of years. Is his body going to last 4 to 6 years? The way he plays.
What about Lindgren and Jones on the third pair? Is that too small?
Yeah, I don't
Coach?
like that.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, because I think Jones is a similar hockey IQ to Fox. I don't know. It'd be an interesting try. It'd be a very interesting look.
Because then you got Fox and Trouba, like you said, with the Buka Boom situation. Then you got Miller, Schneider, and Jones and Lindgren.
Look, if they're bickering with Lindgren over 200,000 or whatever number you're saying, 400,000, it sounds to me like they're like saying, okay, then go. That means they might have someone down in the AHL they feel they could gamble on with Jones there coming up, and that seems a little shaky to me.
I think Drury wants to move on from Lindgren. I just don't think he has options available that he likes. I mean, you looked at free agency, you see a guy like Brady Shea get 7x7. I mean,
that's nuts.
Insane. Brady Shea's a good player.
Yeah, but you say that's insane, but he's like a 20-goal defenseman.
I think it's insane. We watched Brady Shea for years.
I don't think
if he's getting,
we watched him in playoff series for years.
Listen, Coach, if Brady Shea was paired with Fox right now, would you think that was like a great pairing?
No.
Or would you think you'd want a better player than Brady Shea there, right? Well, you want
I told you what I want for Fox.
But assume he's not a physical guy, and it's more of a Jacob Slavin type, a skater, a guy who can move the puck, not a Trouba type. Okay, so assume that. Is Brady Shea good enough there? I don't think so. I wouldn't want Brady Shea to play with Fox, and that Brady Shea cost $7 million in free agency. So to get a better player, to get a better player than Brady Shea in free agency, you got to go 8.5, $9 million a year. So you got to trade for one or develop one to get him on a reasonable contract. That's the reality. We don't have anybody available right now in our system, in the Rangers system, that can do that. They're not ready. There's not really a lot of defense prospects. The Rangers just drafted EJ Emery, but He's not close to ready. And they have Mancini, who just signed his pro deal last year, so he's probably not ready. So how are you getting a guy? You're going to trade for one. That's it.
Bring back Libor Hayek.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think they're going to be, regardless of what we want, I think they're going to sign Lindgren to a 1-year deal. Because I don't think Drury wants to lock himself in. I think you're right. I think he's looking at Lindgren and he's like, look, I like this guy, but he gets hurt every year and I can't depend on him to last that contract, right?
Yeah, the only problem I have with the Trouba Fox pairing is they're both righties.
I don't like that either. I wasn't going to say it though because you guys shit on me every time I say it. So
What? Why?
I don't really like two righties together or two lefties together on D.
Me neither.
Maybe one pairing I can deal with it, but no, I think you're seeing Jones with Trouba, Miller.
I
with
think
Schneider.
that's bullshit. You're making, like you said before, you're making $8.5 million, $9 million a year. Get over it.
Yeah, it's
No,
true.
it's not a matter.
Hit
No.
the puck on the backhand. You're
True.
open for the shot. You're open to the net. Play the offside. You'll be fine.
It's
I
true.
agree with you that they should be able to adapt by playing the offside because I like playing the offside, but you should still have one of each, I think, on the pair. Because I have no problem with both players playing their offside like me and my pair did in college.
But what's the difference?
It's just you have that option on the wall or like breaking to the net or I don't know.
I get
It's just
that,
like-
but maybe one guy can play it. One guy's more comfortable the other way.
Look, the percentages are that D-to-D passes are better from a lefty
Well,
to a
that too,
righty, lefty right. You're looking at analytics and percentages, and a left defenseman who shoots lefty and a right defenseman who shoots righty is the better analytics.
And we talk about it. We talk about
That's
it all
what-
the time when they make that D-to-D pass like directly across the line. Like you can't. That's hard to do with a righty on righty, right?
Yeah, can you imagine Fox doing that to Trouba? And in then one time it goes off sides, the fan base is gonna, raid his house. He can't catch the pass.
Well, that is the one negative. Fox doesn't skate like Leach. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Fox is not Brian Leach. I love Fox, but he's not
Yeah, that
Brian
puts
Leach
that
as far as
puts
skill.
two heavy-footed
Yeah,
players
that's
on.
true. I may have to take that back unless Trouba adapts and plays a little bit smarter on the back end.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I think we're going to be
But
stuck
I could
with
see
the-
McKinnon licking his chops if he's out there against Trouba and Fox,
Oh, God.
Yeah.
and he just breaks down the middle. He's gone.
Luckily, they only play them twice a year. So if the D is Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Schneider, Jones, Trouba, is that good enough?
I think so. I was always comfortable with those six. I'm sorry.
You think it's good?
I think it's good enough.
I think you could win with that D. Yeah, I think so.
Like we talked
Okay.
about before. Well, as long as that D steps up to the roles, like we discussed, like Schneider's got to be more physical, Miller's got to be more physical. Like maybe not throughout the whole regular season. I mean, we're not asking for much, but during the playoff run, they have to be. And then what we said, the forwards have to step up. If the forwards do their jobs, the defense isn't as magnified. And let's not forget, they won the President's Trophy last year.
Yep.
So, quote unquote, running it back might not be the worst thing if you just
Yeah.
add the right pieces to get over the hump in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I said that the
You
other
have
day
to-
to a friend of mine.
You have
I
to
agree.
you have to expect to Igor have a more consistent season, or hope he does.
Oh, God.
And if
We didn't
not,
even
you
talk
have
about-
Quick still waiting for his opportunity to shine again in New York.
We didn't even
So
talk
the
about
goaltending position is locked up. The defense have to do their job, and I think the more important situation is the forwards doing their job. Playing 5-on-5 for a consistent regular season, still dominating on the power play, and just playing the right way, like we talked about. The regular season is not the issue. Like I said, they won the President's Trophy.
In my opinion, this is Keandre's do or die year. He should have stepped
Right.
it up last year. I think that was a big part of them not doing well against Florida. He should have been a lot better against Florida. He's that skilled and that good.
We talk about it all the time. Every
I wanna
pairing
blame-
has to
I
have
don't want
that
to
type
blame
of
one
player.
guy. I'm not blaming one guy, but if he steps up a notch in the playoffs, that's a different series. Just
Yeah,
handling the
Keandre
puck.
is. I agree. I wouldn't say it's like do or die, but I think this is a very big year for him as far as what Chris Drury is going to think of his future with the Rangers, because he's
Well,
now
then it's do or die.
No, it's not do or die because he can still have an amazing career and develop later.
Oh
but
yeah.
I don't know
Well,
if
I
it'll be
mean with the Rangers, in my opinion.
yeah. I agree because I think Miller. I mean, the reality is, when you look at the Rangers D, Miller should be the second best defenseman on the Rangers.
Without a doubt. Skill
He should
wise,
be.
he's insane.
So if he's not, then he's not. That's a big problem because Miller can step even if he's not playing with Fox. He can kind of settle everybody on the left D in. If he's the first left D, the best one, then Lindgren's the second best, the best lefty.
Yeah.
And then Jones can kind of ease his way up and maybe even pass Lindgren at some point, or they can trade Jones and get another guy, right? If they don't think he'll make it. But I'm just saying,
more options.
It just sets everybody in where they should be. And I think it's necessary that Keandre takes that step this year for sure. I got my eye on Miller, Kakko, and Hedel this year. And I don't know if Kakko and Hedel will be on the team either come training camp, but if they are, to me, those three guys all need to take a significant step or they're not going to be Rangers very long. This is like near the end of their rope with the Rangers, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree.
I can't argue with that.
So let's talk Igor Shesterkin and then wrap this up. Igor Shesterkin.
I'd like to talk about the other moves too, no?
Oh, what other moves? Oh, Sam Carrick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to touch on it and the AHL signings.
Yeah, 3-year deal, $1 million a year for Sam Carrick, a fourth liner. Kind of brought in to replace Gaudreau. He plays center, he plays wing, kind of a Swiss Army knife type guy, good forechecker. I don't hate that deal. I think, you get some stability on the fourth line at a reasonable price, right?
I think the most important thing about this signing is I'm sure the fans aren't looking at it. Like I said, the little things about these players that Drury is targeting. He played 16 games with the Oilers last season. His faceoff percentage was 63.1. I don't have the Googling ability that Cousin Ed does, so I don't know how many attempts or how many faceoffs he took in those 16 games, but it's a pretty damn good percentage. So I think that's why Drury probably signed him to anchor that fourth line and be strong up the middle with faceoffs.
99 faceoffs with Edmonton in 16 games.
It's pretty good.
He won 99, lost 58.
It's pretty good. So he was a consistent center for that stretch of games or whatever, so.
And in the playoffs, he was 53.3%, which is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like I said, these signings, no, are they sexy signings like they say on NHL Network all the time on the radio? No, they're not. But if you take a little deeper dive into them, I think Drury, like we say, is just making the right moves and targeting players with a specific purpose, which is kind of refreshing because in the past, the Rangers are known for just signing the shiny toy, that everyone is rumored to have or to want. And now they're taking a turn. Drury's making the right moves. And the small things in the game, the important things of winning a playoff series
that we need.
Yeah. And winning faceoffs in the playoffs is a huge thing. Puck possession.
Yeah. No, I like that move for sure. He's a thick guy too, 6 foot, 200 pounds. So, he can hit and
him and Rempe on the fourth line. Get out the way.
I really want Edstrom on that fourth line.
And Edstrom. Yeah. Those three guys on the fourth line.
I want Edstrom and Rempe to play together so badly, but you got to remember Jimmy Vesey's still on the team too. So I don't know.
Kakko, VC, and Hedel on the third line.
And then where's Will Cooley playing?
Shit, forgot about him.
I would honestly not hate even Will Cooley on the fourth line. To be honest,
I like the Hedel.
I think Will Cooley could turn the corner and put a few pucks in the net.
Well, I'm just saying, if you got Berard, you got Offman, hopefully one of those guys makes the team, develops, right? They could play third line with Hedel and Kakko. I don't know.
We're gonna have a preseason episode, right? So we'll be breaking down all that stuff.
There's a lot of options. I'm excited to see these forwards in training camp. But Sam Carrick, and then obviously they made 2 AHL moves. They bought in, I think I'm saying this correctly, Bo Groulx. Is that right? Gruel?
I don't know.
Groulx. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Grow. So I think his name is Bo Grow. So I kind of hope he comes up just to hear.
We've had a boo and a bow.
Buddha. That should be the episode title.
Oh my God.
AHL move, 24-year-old guy, 6'2", big player, played center, played 45 games in the NHL last year, 0 goals, 2 assists. So I don't really think he was signed for anything more than depth in Hartford. And Casey Fitzgerald, a right defenseman. Hartford needs defensemen. The Rangers don't have a lot under contract. A 27-year-old, formerly with Buffalo and Florida, played 4 NHL games with Florida last year, 23 with Buffalo. So guys who, can come up in a pinch and play NHL minutes, but not really anticipating them to be significant players on the team. You got to make those signings too. So,
yeah, shout out to Wolfpack Union on Instagram. We were talking a little bit. He has a nice Wolfpack page about all the signings and updates and stuff like that. So go check him out. And maybe we'll have him on for an episode in the future or something like that. But yeah, good page, decent following. And yeah, he's got a lot of good graphics, a lot of updates about the Wolfpack. So me and Coach Ed plan on going to a few games this season. So definitely check them out.
Yeah, I want to definitely do that.
You guys see Rempe learning how to fight from George LaRock, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to throw up Kevin Shields' comment. He hopes Rempe's skating his ass off this summer. I do know that he's training with LaRock. That's for sure.
Just for fighting.
Really?
Yeah. And LaRock said, he goes, if you think he was tough last season, the NHL better look out this season. So
yeah, he said he's going to be the heavyweight champ in the league for sure. There's no question. So that's not a bad move by Rempe, I think.
Yeah. And he was also teaching like a boxing. He was also teaching like a skating camp or a boxing camp on ice. Rempe was teaching the class himself. So he's working on his game. That's for sure.
Well, he's working on fighting, but he wants to work on every part of his game. Jiminy Crickets,
Yeah.
I love Rempe.
Shout out to Rempe Rides at Dawn. Still that t-shirt's still available if anybody wants one.
Yeah, it's a dope shirt. Definitely get it. All right. Igor Shesterkin. Igor Shesterkin wants $12.9 million a year, allegedly. That's the rumor.
Kevin Shields says, so that sounds like a hard no on skating practice.
$12.9 million a year for Igor Shesterkin. Is that something the Rangers should consider? Or is there a sweet spot here? And if you're not going to sign him, should they consider trading him? Or rather than him walking for free? For nothing?
That's a tough call.
They got to find a middle ground. I think it's a selfish move by him. I think it's a silly move. I mean, you look around the league, and I don't know what he would be thinking. I mean, you look at a player like Lundqvist is frustrated. Igor has shown his frustrations at times where he's doing everything he can. So why would he want to sign for that much money and not allow Drury to make more moves or sign better players and stuff? I think it's crazy. Well, just make him the highest paid goalie at the 11 mil like we discussed, and sign another player for another $1.5 million. I mean, it's crazy. You don't need that.
How about giving him a Gretzky-like contract when he went to LA? His contract was he would always be the highest paid player in the league. So if Crosby signed,
can't do that. That's not how it works anymore, Coach.
You don't want to be the highest player in the league.
No, highest paid goalie, say, but Gretzky.
The problem the Rangers are in here, and it's a big one, is that when you look at other goalie contracts, you have to look at it at the time they were signed, what percentage of the cap they were at the time they signed it. So there's a lot of guys that people are saying like, oh, Vasilevsky makes 9.5. Yeah, but that was signed 4 years ago. That's not signed under a 92 million cap that's expected to be over 100 million in 3 years. So the 12.9 Igor's asking for is commensurate with that 9.5 Vasilevsky signed for. That's the reality. So that's the difficult part I think the Rangers are going to have in the negotiations. And as far as Igor being selfish, yeah, it's a little selfish, but when you look at how the Rangers operate, what does he really owe the Rangers? I mean, I don't blame the guy for going to try and get as much money as he can when, teams out there are real quick to cut you when you're not performing. And buy you out and et cetera, right? I mean, he watched them buy out Henrik Lundqvist when he was a rookie or second.
Well, does he want that to happen to him too? Because it will if he signs for the max deal.
Well, I think
it's not going to be long enough for them to buy him out, but it could be.
I don't really believe as a team building concept in paying goalies as much as he wants. So I'm in a difficult spot as a fan because I really love Igor and I think he's probably the best goalie in the league. But I don't think I would want to sign him. If I was a GM, I'd probably consider trading him, to be honest with you, and picking up a goalie who makes $4 or $5 million.
You have to consider it, right? And
because
Dylan Garand,
that's a $7 or $8 million player that you can add to the roster.
You got Dylan Garand chomping at the bit with the Wolfpack, back-to-back playoff runs. Listen, he's not as good as Igor, but it's an option, and NHL teams have proven that they can at least make it to the Stanley Cup final with a 1B level goalie at least.
I mean, going to next year, add an $8 million defenseman or forward to this team, and remove Igor and replace him with a $4.5 million goalie. What's better? Is Igor alone better, or the $4 million goalie and the $8 million player? Yes, coach.
Would you trade him to Ottawa for my boy?
I don't know. It depends who the goalie we're getting is. I mean, I don't know if Dylan Garand is the answer right now. I like him as a backup coming up next year, but
he's good.
Who's going to play this year? Quick and Garand? Yeah, Garand is good. He is. He's a good prospect, but I just don't know if he's ready yet. He hasn't played any NHL games. You know, it's
got Louis Domingue also.
No. No. I mean, no. I don't know. I don't know. I'd consider trading. I love Igor, but I would put the screws to him if I were Drury. I would say, look, you want $12.9 million? Your agent is free to talk to every team in the league. If there's any team in the league willing to give you $12.9 million for 8 years, I'll try to work out a trade with that team. Go for it. Good luck. And see if calls bluff. You think Igor wants to leave New York? You know, like, it's not really talked about a lot, but New York is a really popular destination for Russian players. They really love it. I don't think he really wants to leave New York. I think he'll end up taking less to stay if push comes to shove. So Drury can't cave, and I don't think he will. I think that's why the deal isn't done yet. But yeah, it's a little upsetting that he wants $13 million when the highest paid goalie in the league is $10.5. It's Carey Price, who's not even playing. So Bobrovsky de facto is the highest paid goalie in the league. He makes $10 million. And you want $3 million more than him? It's crazy. It's crazy.
How about trading him to Edmonton for Draisaitl?
In a heartbeat. Done.
Edmonton needs a goalie. Skinner did great.
Draisaitl's one of the clutchest playoff.
Draisaitl's a free agent right now, right?
Next year.
Oh, yeah. He's looking to sign an extension.
Yeah, trade Igor and give Draisaitl $12.9 million. Good with that.
Done.
I would do that in a second. I love Igor, and I think he carried the Rangers. But just from it's kind of like in football. Do you allocate all that money to running back? You know, no.
How about this? Trade him to Edmonton for Skinner and Draisaitl.
Skinner. God, I don't really like.
And
Skinner.
then Edmonton wins the cup next year.
With Igor, it was just Sturgeon for sure. You know, it's
without a doubt.
It's definitely gonna happen. I don't know. I think they'll work it out. I think he'll be a Ranger. I want him to be a Ranger. It's not my money, but just from a team building perspective, I don't know if it's the right decision.
I think Dolan wants that superstar goalie as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they'll work it out. I think it'll come in around 11, like you said.
Well, the Rangers are stricken with a friend of mine who's since a couple of things happened, hasn't been paying much attention. He says it's the curse of JD.
You're going to have to explain.
And he doesn't mean John Davidson. The curse of James Dolan. He does things for the wrong reason. Wrong reason.
Yeah, well, that's what happens with an owner with deep pockets that likes to be involved.
To Dolan's credit, he kind of backed off a lot and gave the reins to Sather. Sather just wasn't able to, get it done. But yeah,
Sather retired.
he's not a great owner. Yeah, congrats to Sather on a great career, by
Listen,
the way. I'll never
Part
forget
of
when
being
he
a great
said-
part of being a great owner is being a rich owner. So without him, they wouldn't have been able to sign Panarin and players like that over the years. So it is what it is. But I hope he can, like you just said, just let go of the reins a little bit more, and or maybe he pushed Drury in the direction of being more ruthless. Who knows?
Yeah. I agree. Look, I don't know. I think he's going to want Shesterkin signed. I think Shesterkin will sign, but let's keep our eye on that as well. You know, I don't think this offseason is over for the Rangers by any stretch. You know, like I said, Hedel, Kakko, Lindgren, Shesterkin. These are all things that are in play. Lafreniere's contract extension. He's rumored to not want to sign right now. He wants to bet on himself and sign next year. That could be pricey. So
how's that going to work out if you have Shesterkin at 13 million?
Well, that's the thing. That's the cap crunch, right? If you pay Shesterkin 12.5 and Lafreniere 9.5, that's 2 million under my estimation there, coach. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that gives the Rangers about 10 million in cap space next year to fill out their team. Unless that's why they're going to have to move Trouba or somebody else to clear some room to fill out the roster. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough finagling here by Drury, but all things to keep an eye on. We'll keep you updated as the summer progresses. Thanks for joining us. If anything special happens, maybe we'll hop on for a quick episode. If not, I think our plan is to go 2 weeks. Is that right, Little Ed? In the summer.
For now?
Yeah, for now. And then we got some rivalry tour episodes.
Yeah, we've been taking breaks, I think, here and there with the off season, watching the Cup final and everything. We haven't really been on the air much, so I guess just stay tuned for any announcements. Like Cuz just said, if anything big happens with the Rangers, we'll hop on at least for like an emergency, maybe 15, 30-minute episode or something.
So 45 minutes?
Yeah, so 45 minutes to an hour. But I was thinking maybe an Inside the Ranger Room episode, or maybe we could do one of our fun draft episodes just to keep the off-season fun and light. And then, definitely look forward to the what's it called? The rivalry tour. This will be our 4th season doing it. So we like to get other podcasts of other fan bases and talk about the Metro Division at least.
Yeah. And we like to mix it up every year with different fans, different podcasts.
Great. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun for sure. But
so if you're a new listener, about a week before, I guess, training camp starts and the preseason games are played, we try to a few weeks before. So I guess like the month of August, we try to do that. And look ahead to that.
I can't wait to have Neil on to talk Devils and how they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Oh, he's going to be all excited.
Sheldon Keefe, the Jack Adams. Give me a break.
Their betting odds are higher than the Rangers to win the Cup. Did you see that?
They said that last year too. The Metro Division, Eastern Conference champs, Stanley Cup finalists.
They did make some good. They did make some good moves.
We'll see.
Yeah, they made some good moves last year too.
Yeah, they did. They're the champions of the offseason.
Yeah, both years. We'll see. Listen.
All right, boys. Let's wrap this up. Good episode, fun episode. Obviously, off-season stuff. The Rangers are a little quiet, but a lot of good conversation here. So there's a lot going on with this team, and we'll see what Drury does. There's time. Be patient as a fan. Let him cook in the off-season. See what he's working on, and I don't think this is set. So there's more to talk about later on in the summer.
Let's go Rangers, boys. Don't give up. You got to keep watching. You got to keep the faith, even though things don't go the way we want.
All right, Coach. That goes for you too, with Keandre, all right?
Hey, I thought he was going to do great this year. He disappointed me. He should have stepped it up. I'm sorry.
Agreed.
He will. All right, boys. Love you guys.
Love you, fans. Thanks for joining us. Yep.
Thanks to all our sponsors and fans. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, even though all the fans are crazy out there, we appreciate all of you.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Love you guys.
Good night.